Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive. And today we're tackling something pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
We're looking at spiritism,
Okay.
but not just like the basics of it.
Hmm.
We're going deep on how this whole philosophical system views the idea of free will.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it really gets you thinking about those choices we make,
Right.
and the impact they might have not just in this life, but maybe even across multiple lifetimes if you subscribe to that idea.
Yeah, that's a big one
Yeah.
for sure. And, when you think about it from a spiritist perspective, it's not just about actions in the physical world, right? It's about choices, really shaping your spiritual evolution over lifetime after lifetime.
Yeah.
And Allan Kardec, he laid a lot of the groundwork for
The
this.
father of spiritism.
Exactly. He was all about the connection between the physical and the spiritual realms. And a lot of that exploration, happened through communication with spirits.
Okay, well, hold on. There's a lot to unpack there. So we're talking about communication with spirits reincarnation. Like, this is getting pretty deep pretty fast.
It can be a lot to take in at first, yeah.
But just to clarify, are we basically saying that spiritism sees us as active participants in this whole journey of spiritual growth,
Absolutely.
not just puppets of fate?
Yeah, Spiritism is really big on free will,
Oh,
but it's not just the simple idea of hey, you've got choices, so go wild, do whatever you want. There's more nuance to it.
okay. I'm intrigued. So how does it actually work?
Well, imagine each choice you make like a thread, and it's being woven into this big tapestry. That tapestry is your soul.
Okay, I can picture that.
And that tapestry, according to Spiritism, it stretches across multiple lifetimes. So every decision, even the seemingly small ones, they carry a lot of weight.
Wow. Okay, that really puts things in perspective. Suddenly, grabbing that extra cookie doesn't seem so innocent anymore.
Maybe not.
So we're shaping our soul with each choice.
That's the idea.
But does that mean Spiritism throws out the whole concept of fate or destiny?
Not necessarily. It's not about having this preset path that's already laid out for you. It's
Well,
more about continuous development.
Huh?
Every lifetime in the Spiritist view is another chance to learn and grow.
Okay, I can see that.
So you make choices, you experience the consequences, and all of that shapes who you become spiritually.
This is fascinating.
Mhm.
Okay, so if choices are so central to this whole process, where do spirits fit into all of this? Are they like guiding us, influencing our decisions, or are they just kind of watching from the sidelines?
That's where things get really interesting.
Hmm.
Even within Spiritism, there are different schools of thought on this. Some people believe that spirits can give us these subtle nudges towards choices that are aligned with our growth.
Uh-huh.
But others emphasize that it's really up to us to exercise our own free will. So it's like this whole debate about whether a spirit's nudge violates free will or if it's more like a suggestion whispered in the wind.
I see. So it's like a balance between guidance and autonomy.
Egg.
But let's get real here. How much free will do we actually have when you consider all the things that shape our lives? I mean, our upbringing, our social environment, even our genes. It feels like we're kind of pre-programmed from the start.
Yeah, you're hitting on a really important point. And Spiritism acknowledges those external influences.
Okay.
But the focus always comes back to self-awareness and moral responsibility.
Okay, so it's about understanding all those factors that are at play and then making conscious choices rather than just reacting to circumstances.
Exactly. It's about recognizing your own agency within those circumstances.
That makes a lot of sense. You know, it reminds me of this book I was reading called Strange Connection by Diane Moreira.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
It's a really interesting exploration of this whole concept. The story follows these two characters, Sophie, who's a spiritualist, and Wallace, who's a bit more traditional.
Right.
And what's so fascinating is that the story focuses entirely on the choices they make in their present lives. There's no reliance on the typical spiritist trope of incorporating guidance from disembodied spirits.
Right. It's all about them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Moreira saying, look, even within a belief system that acknowledges a vast spiritual world, your everyday choices right here, right now, those matter most.
Exactly. And it's interesting how Moreira makes that choice as an author, too. Within a spiritist narrative, she doesn't let the characters off the hook, even though the setting is ripe for spirit intervention.
Right.
Their struggles, their choices, it's all on them.
And there's even this part where Wallace is determined to test his friends.
Oh, yeah, that part.
Sophie totally disagrees with his approach, but she ultimately respects his choice.
Which speaks volumes about her character.
It does. It's a subtle but powerful way of illustrating how we can acknowledge and respect another person's free will, even when we don't agree with their decisions.
It's like recognizing that each soul has its own melody to play.
Oh, I love that analogy.
And together, we create something much greater. It's like a grand symphony.
And respecting each other's music, even if it's different from our own, that's where the real harmony lies.
Exactly. And each note, each choice contributes to that grand composition.
Wow. This is already so much to think about.
It is.
But before we get too overwhelmed, let's bring it back to our listeners for a moment. Imagine this: each decision you make, each action you take, it's not just a fleeting moment. It's a building block for your soul.
It's a powerful thought.
It is. And
Yeah.
that building process, it can continue across lifetimes.
Yeah.
It's a lot to consider, right?
It certainly is. And as we move forward, we'll delve deeper into this concept.
Okay.
We'll look at the implications of those choices, the consequences, both the ones we experience immediately and those that echo through our spiritual evolution.
This is getting really good. I can't wait to hear more.
Me too.
I'm ready when you are.
Let's do it.
All right. So we're back. And we're digging deeper into this whole spiritism thing and how it views free will.
Yeah, we've been talking about how our choices shape our spiritual journey.
Right. But now I'm curious about the consequences of those choices.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that look like in practice? Is it like some kind of cosmic reward system, or is it more complicated than that?
It's definitely not a simple equation of like good deeds equal rewards and bad deeds equal punishment.
Okay, good, because that's a little too simplistic for me.
Yeah, it's more about understanding cause and effect. But this cause and effect, it plays out across multiple lifetimes.
Oh, wow. Okay, so every choice we make has a consequence that impacts our future lives.
In a way, yes. In Spiritism, every choice generates a corresponding consequence. And it creates a kind of energetic balance.
I see. So it's not about immediate rewards or punishments. It's about this bigger picture, this ripple effect that spans across lifetime.
Exactly. It's like each decision we make plants a seed. Some seeds might blossom to beautiful flowers. Others, maybe they bear thorns.
I like that analogy.
But the act of planting, of choosing, that's what shapes the garden of our soul.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So we're not just gardening in this, like, we're gardening for eternity.
You could say that.
You know, this whole idea of choices having consequences that stretch across lifetimes,
Yeah.
it reminds me of the concept of karma. Does Spiritism have a similar belief?
While Spiritism doesn't use the term karma, specifically, the underlying principle is very similar.
Okay, so it's about recognizing that our actions, driven by our choices, create this kind of energetic balance.
Right. Every choice generates a corresponding consequence. And these consequences, they can manifest in various ways across our entire spiritual journey.
So it's less about a cosmic scorecard, keeping track of our good and bad deeds.
Yeah, it's not about that.
It's more about a natural law of cause and effect that operates on a spiritual level, shaping our experiences across lifetimes.
Exactly. And it emphasizes that we're not just passive bystanders in this whole process.
Right, we're not just subject to fate.
We're active participants in creating our own reality, both in this life and beyond.
That's both empowering and a little intimidating.
It is. It means we have a huge responsibility for the choices we make, knowing that those choices have far-reaching consequences.
Yeah, it's a lot to consider.
Yeah.
But you know what I find really inspiring about Spiritism? Is that it offers a sense of purpose and agency amidst all the complexities of life.
I agree. It's not about getting bogged down by those complexities.
Right. It's about seeing challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities for growth.
Absolutely. It encourages us to approach each choice with intention and awareness.
And that's something we can all strive for, regardless of our beliefs.
Exactly. You know, even small acts of kindness, compassion, integrity, they can have a profound impact.
Not just on an individual level, but on a collective one.
Exactly. It speaks to the heart of Spiritism, reminding us that we're all on this journey of evolution together.
And our choices, big and small, they act as these signposts along the way.
Shaping not only our own paths, but also contributing to the collective journey of humanity.
It's a beautiful thought. You know, before we move on to our final segment, I wanted to share a quote that really captures the essence of what we've been talking about.
Okay.
It's from Allan Kardec. He said, "To be free is to be able to choose, but to choose well is to be wise."
Oh, that's a good one.
Right? It's not just about having the freedom to choose.
It's about using that freedom wisely.
Making choices that align with our values and contribute to our spiritual growth. Our evolution as souls.
And true wisdom comes from self-reflection, understanding our motivations, seeking guidance when we need it. It's about making choices that resonate with our deepest selves. Choices that contribute to the symphony of souls.
To the collective journey of humanity.
Exactly. And as we move into our final segment, let's carry that awareness with us. Let's explore how Spiritism's perspective on free will and its consequences can guide us towards a more fulfilling and purposeful existence, one that embraces both our individuality and our connection to something greater.
That sounds great. I'm ready when you are.
Let's go.
All right. So we've covered a lot of ground exploring how Spiritism views this whole idea of free will and the ripple effects of our choices. But let's get practical here. How do we actually live these principles? It's one thing to understand the theory, but how do we apply all this to our everyday lives?
That's the real challenge, isn't it? Spiritism has all these profound ideas, but it's not just meant to be an intellectual exercise. It's a philosophy meant to be lived.
I like that. So where do we even begin?
Well, I think the starting point, like with many spiritual paths, is cultivating self-awareness.
Self-awareness. Okay, so what does that look like in a Spiritist context? Is it just about knowing your likes and dislikes, or is there something deeper going on here?
It's definitely deeper than just knowing whether you prefer coffee over tea. It's about understanding your values, your motivations, the things that drive your choices. What are the underlying beliefs that are shaping your actions? It's like taking a deep dive into your own inner landscape, mapping out the terrain of your soul.
I like that analogy. So it's about understanding the why behind our choices, not just the what. But what about those times when we make choices that don't align with our values? I mean, we're all human. We mess up sometimes, right? How does Spiritism view those moments of imperfection?
That's where forgiveness comes in, both for ourselves and for others. Spiritism recognizes that we're all works in progress. We're on this continuous journey of learning and growth. Mistakes are bound to happen. They're part of the process.
So it's not about striving for some unattainable ideal of perfection.
Exactly. It's about embracing those imperfections as opportunities for growth. Instead of beating yourself up over a misstep, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? Spiritism encourages us to cultivate what some people call a growth mindset, where even challenges become stepping stones on the path to spiritual evolution.
I love that perspective. It takes the pressure off, allowing for more compassion towards ourselves and others.
Compassion is key, and this compassion, this understanding, it extends beyond our individual experiences. Spiritism encourages us to view the world through a lens of empathy. Remember, we're all interconnected, each on our own unique journey, each navigating this whole dance of free will and its consequences.
It's like we're all in this together.
We are, and when we make choices rooted in wisdom and compassion, we contribute not just to our own growth, but to the collective good.
Each act of kindness, each choice made with intention, it all adds up.
It does. It's like we're weaving a tapestry together, thread by thread, choice by choice, and the patterns we create, the colors we choose, they all contribute to something much larger than ourselves.
Wow, that's a beautiful image. We're all co-creators in this grand tapestry of existence, our choices echoing not just through our individual lives, but through the very fabric of the universe.
That's the power of free will.
This has been an incredible deep dive, so much food for thought. So before we wrap things up, is there any final wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners?
I would just encourage everyone listening to really embrace the power and the responsibility that comes with free will. Your choices matter, not just in this lifetime, but potentially across many lifetimes. So choose wisely, choose with compassion, and choose with the understanding that you are an integral part of something much greater than yourself.
What a powerful message to end on. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this exploration of Spiritism and free will. We hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and maybe even inspired you to look at your own choices in a new light. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep choosing to create a world that reflects the best of humanity.